Welcome to Tales of Arda, where we discuss and explore Middle-earth. This week's video is quite different, as we will be discussing the 23 pictures Amazon released last week. We hope you enjoy our analysis of these images, and let us know your opinions on our speculations and predictions in the comments below. And so, in no particular order, here are our analysis. We start with this image. Someone totally covered in gold. At first thought this seemed like Anatar because of the many rings and the gold clothing, but the character also has two 8-pointed stars on the cloths, and the 8-pointed star is a symbol of the House of Fëanor, leading me to assume this is Celebrimbor. But as for the stars, this is also a symbol of High King Gil-galad, and the star is also symbolic in regards to the kingdom of Númenor. However, Gil-galad's banner is normally depicted with 4-pointed stars, and the Númenorian star has 5 points, but I wouldn't rule out these possibilities, as this could be Ar-Pharazôn, for his nickname is the Golden. Next picture is someone quite royal, and again I think this is Gil-galad, but it could also be a Númenorian king. Gil-galad is often associated with gold and blue, and if you look closely, the ring he is wearing on his pinky gives a slight bluish hue, and so could be Vilya, as we know that Gil-galad owned that ring for a number of years in the Second Age. However, the sun on the belt of the character doesn't seem to be that elven, and so perhaps this is a Númenorian king, or even a royal Gondorian, as the sun is what Minas Tirith was originally named after. The third picture we're going to talk about just screams Númenorian, from the fish-like scales of the gown, the flower of the white tree, to the mannish look of the hands. I believe this to be a Queen of Númenor, possibly Tamriel, or this could be Silmaril, if the ring she is wearing is confirmed to be the ring of Barahir, for it does seem to have an emerald. Another amazing feature is the flower of the white tree. This could be the white tree of Gondor, but it is more likely to be the Nimloth, the white tree of Númenor. The bracelets of this character also have an emerald gem, maybe indicating that this is Silmaril. But this could as well be an elf, someone like the daughter of Galadriel, Celebrimbor, though I think this is unlikely. Next is someone who I instantly thought was Sauron. However, the more I look at it, the more I think this is the Witch King or another Nazgul. I think that Sauron would have a mace, and the character on this picture doesn't seem to be that tall or powerful. The sword hilt is amazing and truly looks like the property of a Second Age Witch King. Our next image looks just like a wizard. The woolen clothing and the beard that is at the top does seem like Radagast, but he is first present in the Third Age in the Earth, and so it's unlikely that he will appear. However, there are two wizards that are in Middle-earth during the Second Age. The blue wizards. This guy could in fact be a blue wizard, maybe wearing grey wool to disguise himself. Next up is an awesome picture of someone in light golden armor. The combination of the green tunic, the goldish armor indicates that this might be Glorfindel, but then there are 3 suns visible, one on the sword's blade, one on the sword's hilt, and another on the chest plate. And so this might actually be Anarion, as his name is devised from the Quenya word Anar, which means sun. Also, it's rumoured that Isildur will be the main character for the show, and so having Anarion, Isildur's younger brother, be involved would make sense. The character also wears a ring, but it's unlikely that this is a ring of power. And next is the first of our random peasant images, and I believe the farmers and peasants of Middle-earth will be the majority of new characters that Amazon will add. With this particular image, seems to be of a hobbit or just a normal peasant. The big acorns this character is holding could be from the malon trees, which are the trees that grew in Lothlorien. This character's clothes are very ragged, indicating that he might actually be a hobbit or just a quite poor person in general. Our next picture is very ambiguous, and it is of what looks to be a young girl wearing a very medieval style dress. The actual dress pattern also has the 8-pointed star of the fair Norins, but I believe this to be an image of an upper-class woman living in Middle-earth. Next is probably the image I was most surprised to see. This guy must be a Rohirrim, though Rohan wasn't established until the later Third Age. The ancestors of the later people of Rohan would be most likely living in Rovanion in the Second Age. The sword this character is holding has a wooden hilt with a horse engraved on it, and that is the most obvious sign that this is a Rohirrim. The actual blade design has a very Celtic feel and also has a horse design. Up next is what looks to be a poorer person holding a staff. It seems to have a wolf's claw or tooth attached to the handle. This picture, like some others, gives very little information about the character. And now, for one of the most sinister picture reveals, this character is holding a broken sword with a black blade, which seems to have a dark speech rune of some sorts. The broken dark blade leads me to conclude that this sword could be, in fact, Anglakil, the sword of Turin Turamba, which was forged from a meteorite and was broken when Turin ended his own life with it. Could this eerie blade have returned to curse its wielders in the Second Age? The person holding the sword is clad in fur and animal skin, which is quite unusual for the Second Age, and my theory is that this could be one of the Lost of, who were tribes of men that lived in the north of Middle-earth, where only thick fur would protect from the snow and cold. Next is another peasant, this time holding what looks to be blackberries, or some other fruit. What else is interesting is that the bag, which looks like it's been attached by hair, is quite strange. I think that this could be a worker in Dorwinion, and that she is collecting fruit to make some alcoholic drink, as Dorwinion is known for producing wine. Up next is an image that makes not that much sense to me, as this character is wearing a light brown cloak and holds a sickle, a symbol of working, but the tunic of this character is royal blue, and he's even wearing a golden belt. Please leave any speculations on this character below. Could this contrasting clothing be an indication of some royalty trying to hide? Next image is quite simple, but one of my favorites, as this does somewhat remind me of a sailor. This could be Aldarion the Mariner, which would be awesome, or this could be another Númenorian sailor. This could even be Erendil himself. The person's tunic is quite decorative, and is similar to Celtic patterns. The character is also wearing a somewhat makeshift ring and leather straps on his arm. One of the most confusing images is the one of a wooden chest plate character. At first this seems elvish, as the arrow and the leaves on the armor are associated with elves. As you can see, something that resembles the leaf of Lorien in the top corner, but the face on the armor seems somewhat dwarven and might even be Durin. My other thought was that this could be a middleman, as they might not have much access to metals, and perhaps the face is of one of their gods or revered creatures. Another thing that the face on the armor leads me to think is about the Druidang, which are somewhat subspecies of humans and were well renowned for their wood and stone crafting. Next, we have someone who is most definitely a dwarf. This dwarf is holding an axe with dwarvish inscriptions and is wearing reddish armor. This dwarf also has a beard, similar to that of Gimli's. This particular dwarf could be Narvi, probably the most important dwarf in the Second Age, as he shared a friendship with Celebrimbor, and together they made the famous Dwarves of Durin. This dwarf could also be one of the kings of Khazad-dûm, as they did take part in the War of the Last Alliance. I also think this could be a goldsmith, as there is some gold residue on his hands. Speaking of gold residue on the hands, next is a picture with lots of gold. This character looks to be from Rune or Harad, as the golden ornaments and the clothes look similar to what we've seen so far to the south and the east. Could this be a Númenórean smith of some sorts, as they also forged many gold objects? Up next is a peasant with not much to discuss about. She is wearing basic clothes and a beaded bracelet. The design of the scarf may be indicating that she lives in a fishing community. And moving on is a character I believe to be Elrond, half-elven, or another elven lawmaster. What's interesting is that this person is holding a map, and I believe this to be Armenores, for that is what I have managed to decipher from the Quenya writing. The character's clothing also seems to be something Elrond would wear, as his clothing is very fine velvet and has many gold patterns. Up next is a simple yet compelling picture. The red dress doesn't give much information as to who this is, but the book this person is holding is a key to understanding this character. On the front cover there are waves, and from beneath the waves a sea creature emerges. I think this is a catalogue of Númenórean history or culture, and so then this could be a Númenórean woman. Next is another totally ambiguous character that is holding a map with some sort of glyphs, and that I don't think we've seen before. This character also looks pretty ragged and has a ring attached to a piece of cord, similarly to how Frodo bears the ring in The Lord of the Rings. Could this mean this person is indeed a hobbit? That might explain the glyphs as ancient hobbit writing, which would be exciting if Amazon got it right. Up next is an amazing image of some kind of ruler. This character has a golden staff with a depiction of a city on top. This person is wearing grey clothing, but also has a ring, but it is likely not a ring of power. Now I believe this to be none other than Turgon, King of Gondolin. If you look closely at the city on the staff, it resembles Gondolin from the Alan Lee art. The patterns on the staff are also similar to other Noldoran patterns. And we do know that Turgon did have a staff whilst he was king, and he was mostly clad in white. However, likely this character is Turgon. I don't think it's actually him, as this is a second age show, and not a first age show. And perhaps this is just a king of Númenor, or a noble elf. And finally, the last picture is almost definitely Galadriel. She is wearing silver armor, but the best part about this image is the dagger. So much symbolism crammed onto one blade. We will start with the two trees that are at the right top of the handle. Underneath the handle there are 3 pearls, like gems. These are the 3 Silmarils, and if you look closely, you can see the last flower and fruit of the 2 trees either side of the Silmarils. The combination of gold and silver on this dagger is truly exceptional, and the fact that there are so much references to Valinor and the Elder Days is outstanding. I really hope Galadriel defeats some orcs with this blade. And so, That is all the posters Amazon has released yet. Let us know in the comments below your opinions and speculations, and remember to like and subscribe.